Hi everyone. Well, today I thought I would do a video and give you an update on what's happening in the greenhouse because it's filling up nicely. So this is my lovely wooden greenhouse. I'll put the link to the video where I had it delivered last year and painted it. I originally painted it green and then changed my mind um, and painted it black before we erected it. So just round the door here, before we go in, I've just put some pretty little pansies and some lovely heather. This plant here is Verbena bonariensis. This is a cutting that I took. Any cuttings that I take, I like to sort of give them their first year in a pot so I can keep an eye on them because you can see how packed with foliage my borders are, and young plants can get lost. I've lost so many that way. They either die off because they struggle for lack of sunshine or nutrients, or when the flower goes down. I think a lot of the time I dig them out as weeds, not realizing what they are. So this, I'm not sure what this one is. I think it's from the oxalis family. And this is a tiny little foxtail fern. He wasn't tiny, he was huge, and then he didn't do so well. So I cut him right back, gave him a good watering, and then brought him down here to the doorway of the greenhouse where I can, like I say, keep a very good eye on him. See how he's doing. So he's fared well. Just round here, this is my sort of to-do patch. So these are baby heucheras, which I want to pot up into bigger pots. I'll tip them out. You can see the roots are coming out the bottom there. I'll tip them out, check for vine weevil, and then put them in new soil. That looks like he's in a big pot, but he's not. He's in a smaller pot there. And then these little plants here are little foxgloves that I grew from seed that didn't get planted out this year, but they're lovely and healthy. They'll have a great root system, so I will get those planted out into the woodland garden border, which is through there. Right, so I'll take you into the greenhouse now. So I use my greenhouse more in the winter, like autumn, winter, early spring, than I do throughout the summer, because I just find with the plants that I like to grow, I just find it gets too hot in the greenhouse in the summer for them. So so all of these little plants here are wallflowers. I didn't get them planted out in time. Really, I should have planted the wallflower seeds much earlier in the year. I didn't sow the wallflower seeds until about beginning of September. So they germinated, and then I pricked them all out, making sure to put their labels in them. So I've got yellow, I've got, what's that? Seems that the yellow ones really took off, germinated well, or they're white. Mauve were the most expensive seeds I bought, and I think I've got 2 mauve. Really quite disappointed in that. Oh, and orange, that didn't germinate very well as either. So yes, all of these little plants are looking lovely and healthy. So we are the last week in September now, and you'll notice that I've kept the window open all the time, and I keep the door open all the time. So it's quite sort of cold frame conditions in here, and that there's lots of airflow. The temperatures drop on a night time, but very soon I'm going to have to start closing the window, just because it's getting so windy. Close the window, close the door on a night time, and then make sure that I open it again the next morning. Because if I don't do that, I know that I'll start getting like a green mold all over the top of my little plants. So yes, I've got lots of white wallflowers. These are what remains of my succulent display in the greenhouse. All along this bench this summer I've had my succulents. These did live in my conservatory. They were looking very bedraggled in the conservatory. Lots of them needed repotting. So I brought them in here, repotted everything, redid the displays, and then because I love the succulent house, the alpine house, I should say, at Harlow Car, I thought, right, whilst the benches are empty in the greenhouse, I'm going to have an alpine display here. So all along here were alpines. I'll show you some of them outside, down at the front of the house there, which is very sunny. So this is my lovely stone planter with some alpines in. Oh, now you can see this frothy plant here is Linaria. Love it in the garden, but it self-seeds everywhere. So all you do is you have to tug it out. A bit of grass there. So that's quite easy for me to weed. That's a weed there. And then I've got a weed there. But the rest of the little alpines are fine. These have been out here for 2 years now, so they'll be absolutely fine out there. This you'll see in the video where I split the alpines at the conservatory. He was actually a bit that snapped off the parent plant by mistake, and he was only about this tall. He has grown this tall this year. That's good. All that grass out there. Oh, and I've got a lovely little viola self-seeded, so I'm going to leave him because he's beautiful. These are just nandinas. So this aspect here at the front of my house is south facing, and that is west facing. So it's a southwesterly aspect. I must remember not to swing the camera around and make you feel ill. I've just seen this succulent here at Harlow Car. He was about 3 foot tall. He was huge. That's lovely. Right, back to the greenhouse. So, things that I found invaluable in the greenhouse. So, I usually put all of my little plants in these drip trays. I've used these every year for years. But then I went to a garden centre earlier this year, and they were giving away, they just had piles and piles of these plastic trays. And at first I thought they were seed trays, but then I realized they had no holes in the bottom. So I took about a dozen of those. And what I find really good about these is you can just get them with one hand and they'll fit on a number of surfaces, so I can put them up on my shelves there if need be, and they're quite secure. Whereas the big trays, even these trays here, which are actually, I don't know whether you recognize them, but these are from IKEA, and they usually have a shoe rack over the top of them, and it's to catch the drips off your muddy boots. But they're only £3 a tray, and I use those a lot. But what I find is when you have to move, say, 24 plants that are on them, they sort of wobble and bend as you move them. So these have been invaluable. And in there. And what I will do with these little wallflowers, when they've been here a little bit longer, maybe sort of end of October, by the end of October I'll nip the tips out and they'll start bushing out, and then I will put them in my cold frames, which I'll show you in a minute. So my little grandson, who's 2, he sowed 2 packets of seeds in here, this old mushroom box where I put holes in the bottom, snapdragons, or antirrhinums, and Rudbeckia, which I have never had much success germinating Rudbeckia, and they all took. So that's what's left in there. I pricked them out. So these are the snapdragons that I've pricked all these out individually, put them in their little separate modules, and I'm watching those. And then these are the Rudbeckia. These are called Solar Eclipse. So they're all doing really well. And I think the Rudbeckia and the antirrhinum, these are so tiny. As I say, it was more of just he wanted to sow some seed. He's been sowing seed out in the garden. And because that won't germinate until the spring, I thought, oh, I'll let him have a couple of packets of these, and then he can see what a seed looks like if it germinates. And it did, and he was thrilled. So I will keep the snapdragons and the Rudbeckia in the greenhouse over the winter, but I'll put all of the wallflowers when they're bigger in the cold frames. What have I got up here? Oh yes, so sometimes when I'm pricking out, I'll be left with the seed tray and I forget to put the label back in, but they germinate, they grow. And I find it's important for me because I have a white garden, and so I want to differentiate clearly between white plants and non-white plants, that I have to put a label in saying that these are wallflowers, but I'm not sure about the colour. So I won't put these little plants in my white garden. These can go in the main garden. What have I got here? Oh, these are the only orange wallflowers that germinated, but they're doing really well. In fact, they are bigger than the other ones. And I've got a number of packets of seeds of perennials and annuals that you can start off early in September. Like I've brought a packet of white sweet pea seeds, so I will be sowing those. And what happens is, as the plants grow and need pricking out into bigger modules, so these are tiny little modules, they will go into 9 centimeter pots, and then they will need the kind of space that these wallflowers have. So you can see that over the course of October, November, the greenhouse benches fill up, and that's why my husband put these lovely little narrow shelves up at the top so they don't block light coming in below them, whereas if I had a shelf that came out here, it would cast too much shadow for the things below. But I can put these drip trays on, and I can fill this space with plants all the way around there. I've also got some foxgloves that I'm going to be sowing, and they do really well, starting them off early this year. And what I find with foxgloves is that you can put them on the shelves below, and they do quite well. As long as you keep them nice and moist, they do quite well down below. They wouldn't like it up on these shelves, even in the winter, because it's just too sunny and warm. And then what have we got down here? So that's my bag of straw for my autumn pumpkin display that I'll be doing outside the garage. And then in this shelf here, I just keep my compost, and I keep all my little modules and washed plant pots and things. Underneath my potting bench here, that is my lovely ox Alice. Thank you, Mairead, for reminding me to bring him in. He isn't hardy up here in the northeast of England. He would have died if I'd forgotten him and left him outside. So yes, I brought him in. He'll just stay under there and be fine. Um, what else have I got in here to show you? Oh, this is my new thermometer. So there we are. It's 12 degrees here today in the greenhouse. Right, so I'll take you outside and I'll show you the cold frames that my husband built for me earlier this year. Again, I'll put a video link to the making of the cold frames. And the cold frames are where all of these little wallflowers are going to go shortly. Right, so I'll take you to the little area behind my greenhouse, and this is really the engine room of the garden. So that's Old Faithful, had that compost bin for decades, and this is my relatively new compost bin, and that one rotates. You spin him round. Um, so the cold frames have got some seedlings in them, which I can sort of prick out now. So they are white foxgloves there. This one here, oh, these are the orange wallflowers. Very few of those germinated, and these are some remaining yellow ones and white ones over there. So you'll notice this cold frame has a wooden bottom because something kept getting in and eating all the plants, whereas touch wood, this cold frame here was relatively unscathed, and I've just put gravel in, which is great because when you've got it full of little plants, all the water just drains away. So yeah, those are the tray of mauve wallflowers. I can see one or two have come up, but not great success. And again, some empty pots there. So that's it. These two coal frames are where all those little baby wallflowers will sit and just grow on until next spring, and then I'll pop them in the garden. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this tour of my greenhouse. And I would love it if you came back and visited again. You'll see it. I'll soon have all these shelves full of little plants as well. And then I'll just nurse them over the winter. So I hope you're enjoying the autumn wherever you are in the world. And I'll see you next time. Bye.